Alright, so we're going to put the rest of this together. Don't forget your foamy pad. Well, they only gave one choice of a gasket. That's a good thing. My GB weld is a little wider than the opening. Get past that. Double check our passages. It's the only one I have, so it's just going to have to do. Okay. If the gasket's not going to pass, the plate's not going to pass. No problem. Guys! Guys! A little chewy, that one. If I had another. Time to go up on the hilltop. Click, click, click. Don't look right. It ain't right. Why ain't it right? I mean, the foamy thing should compress. See, I've cut this down to where it's making contact with the metal there. So it should be the same depth as the original. Perhaps it's just too broad of a contact area. Now see, that's nice shiny metal there. So it's not like this is up higher. Watch eyes. So there was a gap here. Right there. There was a gap. Now it's over on this side. So the only thing it can be is that. If I remove the little foamy thing, there's no problem. So, little foamy thing back intact. And when you put the top of the carburetor on, there's the two long screws that go in the back here, which will draw everything together. But I just don't like this. I'm telling you, I don't like it a bit. Okay, so I really do have more of these screws. I just went and took them out of another carburetor. After all, I got a stack of them. Went with the Phillips. And these had the lock washers on them. Now some may question the usefulness of lock washers. And the only reason I'm using them here is because it prevents the screw head from coming into direct contact with the aluminum. Okay, so why is that not going down now? Boy, it sure drew it up though. And it looks like I'm going to have to not use one in this side. Because the screw head protrudes. That ain't no good. Why, it doesn't even fit in the bore correctly. I'm thinking that's the problem. Must be rust expansion. Let's see what happens to it now. Well, what do you know? Clickety, clickety, click. Always try to refrain from putting a wire wheel against your brass idle mixture screws on the tips of them. If we back them out 2 turns, that'll put us in the ballpark. Lightly seated, 1/2, 1, 1.5, 2. Lightly seated, 1/2, 1, 1.5, 2. That'll get us going. Woofa! Woofa! So I want to see how nicely this moves up and down in the bore. My spring is in there. There it goes. Nicely. Nicely. One of the metering rods is bent. Got to take care of that. That'll do, pig. I have to reassemble this. I'll be right back. Like that. Alright, float's got to go in next. Quadrajet float retainer, or pivot, if you will. When you put the top of the carburetor on, it squishes this. You can see the wear mark right there. So you want to unsquish it just a wee bit, Captain. Like that. Vintage. Vintage. How old is it, might you ask? Well, there's no barcode on it. Vintage. Very careful, we. Houston, we have a problem. It appears as though our high-grade Jiffy kit did not come with a float spec. Yes, I know I didn't put the needle valve in there. I just wanted a place to put that till I go up online and look up what the float spec is supposed to be for this. Well now, it seems that you and I are about to learn a very important lesson about quadrajets, because it's a good thing they didn't send the specs in the carb kit, because it forced me to go online and tried to find them, which led to me finding an explanation about the diaphragm style of needle valve, which this one is destroyed because I used the heat on it. So the diaphragm that used to be up there is a diaphragm. Fuel comes in the top side of this and exits the bottom side. Fuel comes in the bottom side of this and exits the top side. I don't know, but what this might have been, something to replace or supersede this design. Now it's considerably different, and I don't know that it'll fit that bore, and yes, it will. So it's possible this goes underneath there to seal off the bottom, but how does it allow fuel around the outside? I'll take you online in a minute. There's also the matter of that O-ring, so I get to try to figure this out all on my own. I had been looking at this thing because of the way the fuel came in, and I could see the hole off to the side here, down in here. I was looking at it from here. I don't know if that's making that glow or not. Anyway, probably can't see it because this is in the way. But the entrance for the fuel is right there, above that seat, just like they said. So theoretically this should be okay if it supersedes that. I still haven't found the float specs. Well, I did find a location for the float specs, but the problem is with that in there The fuel comes in above that and just goes straight down and into the fuel bowl. It actually comes over to this channel right here and up through that hole. I don't think that's a plug for here. Maybe. So if we drop this down in that other bore, it doesn't. It does not drop down into that other bore. Wait! The O-ring. Is it possible that the O-ring goes on here and this gets driven down into that bore? By golly, I think that's possible. Alright, I'm going to pull it out again. It's possible. It's possible. I did drop that down into here. And that is sort of an... You do have to drive that down in there. But I really want to know that's what I need to do. Okay, so that's without the O-ring. I'm thinking that's what it is. Because when this is down there... Okay, so what I did here is I pushed down on this to compress the gasket. Then tighten the screws so that the retainer wasn't doing the job of crushing the gasket. I feel much better now. I really think that's what that's for. Is to put the O-ring on this plug and to put this plug in that hole right there, which is where the fuel come out of for that. But before I do that, you and I are going upstairs. Yes, I know I could use a screen capture from my video editing program, but this is more like you and I are in the room together. Mike's Carburetor Parts. Carburetor-blog.com, knowledge-base/quadrajet-float. I forgot that / there. The link will be in the description. This is a carburetor that we have. Fuel comes in here above the valve. Pressure is applied to the diaphragm. It's for high pressure pump situations. So the float is connected here. Float drops, lifts this up. The diaphragm compensates for the amount of pressure coming in, lifts it off the seat, and it doesn't show you it here because this is the standard screwed in that type. But the tube that's over there, like I said, I traced that circuit out once already, and I didn't know what was going on. So this is, I would say, confirmation of my suspicions. I will say this is a furthering of my education. There are two types of float needle valves used in the quadrajet carb. One type is a diaphragm assisted and the other is conventional needle and brass seat. Diaphragm assisted float needle is used primarily with a smaller float on engines equipped with high pressure fuel and pumps. The needle seat is a brass insert and is pressed into the bowl inlet channel below, which we saw. The needle seat is a brass insert and is pressed into the bowl fuel inlet channel below the diaphragm needle tip, which is what we saw. The seat is not removable, which we have already discussed, as the needle valve tip is of a material which makes the seat wear negligible. Care should be taken when servicing. The float valve is factory staked and tested and should not be restaked in the field. Well, it's smoked in this field. The internet has let us down. Not to be dissuaded. Oh, I love these. Grill identification. The 1966 Chevrolet. Engine identification code. Continued. Must mean we gotta back up a page. Chevrolet 396 with manual transmission with power glide and IG. Oh, that's 65 and 6. Yep, 65 and 6. 396 with a power glide. Identified by the letters immediately following the engine serial number. IG. What's TI? Transistorized ignition, maybe? Oh, 396 with air injection reaction. 65 and 6, that's an IB, which is what this one should be. Manual transmission. Power Glide and AIR is an IC for 66. Oh, I'm just gonna have to look. IC 8396 with Power Glide AIR 1966. IC. Looks like 11204 or 11209 or II 209 IC or TI 204 209 TI 209 IC. Oh, that's such a beautiful thing. And then the serial numbers behind it. Let's see what we can match up with that. I'm gonna show you something else. TI 1209 IC. You can see it's double stamped with 6161 815 243. 6L185243. That is the original 396 AIR IC, because earlier I talked about the AIR on air injection reaction. That's what the plugs in the exhaust manifolds are for, and that's why these have the extra washers where they took the bracket off from the air pump, and that's why it has the extra pulley on the pulleys. It's just getting better all the time. I got so excited I forgot all what I was doing. And where's fuel? Engine oiling, front fuel system, carburetor adjustments and specifications, page 680. It's 4MV 703 6200. Right there. The 4MV 703 6200. Idle mix screws 1.5. Okay. Throat revel 6200. All the same. 9:30 seconds. Note 19. Oh. It's just the picture. Float gauge. 9:30 seconds. So I looked up in my Chevy truck manual, 69 Chevy truck manual, with a 396 and the quadrijet was a 1/4 inch, which, so 9:30 seconds is a 30-second more. This is the way we did it. Back before the internet. Right on, right on. Oh, look at this. Cutaway view of a V8 396 and 427 engines. It's all too beautiful. Look at how those spark plug wires are run. Just like in the car. Oh. 9:30 seconds. Okay. My retainer is trying to wrap itself on the top side. There it goes. Nicely. And there's two 815243s on there. Or 845243. I don't know. We're going to see it in just a second. Oh, it's 6L. General engine specifications. V8 396 4-barrel, 325 horse, and made a 360 horse barrel. Pair. The bore and the stroke on the 360 horsepower 396 are different than the 325 horsepower. 4.001 by 325, 4.094 by 376. Interesting. Both had 10.25 to 1 compression. Yeah, it's a little tired. Tune-up specifications. Chevelle Chevy 2 Chevrolet 66 8396 43N. What's that? Spark plugs. That's what we want. 43Ns, not those other things we got in there. 12 28 32 point gap. Specification number 4. Wherever that is. I have to find it. Ignition timing 4 degrees. Hot idle speed 600 or 550 in drive. 160 pounds of compression. Okay, what we need is float. And our numbers are number 4, new points 19, used 16 on V8s. So I can't remember who commented. I said 16, they said 19, we're both right. Another win. Carter carburetor adjustments, drive belt adjustments, wheel alignment specifications, distributor specifications, starter motor, alternator, regulator, valve, pistons, piston pins, ring, cooling system. Are you going to do that to me, are you? Fine, just fine.